before? Okay. First thing we need to talk about is the coordinate plane. What is that? You have what? An x-axis and a what? Left and right is your x-axis. Up and down is your what? This is the graph you guys spent a whole 9 weeks on in algebra, correct? An ordered pair two comma 3 means which direction? What do I do first? This is my x, this is my what? Which way is positive, to the right or to the left? So that'd be to right. 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry, just 1, 2, and then up 1, 2, 3. If this was point A, there's the coordinates of point A. We're all okay with that, are we not? Negative 3 comma 4. What would that be? To the left now, 1, 2, 3, and up 1, 2, 3, 4. We okay there? How about a number line? Do you guys remember those? How could you compare a number line to the XY coordinate plane? How could you compare them? What is a number line? It's basically just the x-axis. So there's only one coordinate to give here, isn't there? So we're all okay there. Next thing we're going to talk about is midpoints. Has everybody got the coordinate plane down? Can I move up here now to this? Yeah. Midpoints. First, we're going to talk about them on a number line. What is a midpoint? The point equidistant. What does that mean? Same distance from two endpoints. That's what a midpoint is in layman's terms. First, on a number line. Your formula is x1 plus x2 divided by 2. That's how you find the coordinate of the midpoint. What do you think the x1 and x2 mean? Well, let's see, let's find the midpoint between A and B. How would I do that? Basically, isn't this just the x-axis? x1 is the coordinate of one endpoint. x2 is the coordinate of the other endpoint. So I want the midpoint between A and B. What are the coordinates of A? So -2 plus, what is the coordinate of B? All of that divided by, what do you get? -1/2. That is where the midpoint of these two is. Now if you think about that, that's about right there, isn't it? That pretty much looks like it's right in the middle, doesn't it? It's 1.5 from here, 1.5 from here. Make sense? So, find me the midpoint between A and C. Well, what changes about this, what we're doing? Just the numbers, the two endpoints, but the process, the formula is still the same. What are the coordinates of A? -2 plus, what are the coordinates of C? Huh?
5.
All of that divided by 2. What do you get over here? 3/2, which is 1 1/2. That's the midway point between those two. 1 1/2, so it's right there. That looks to be in the middle, doesn't it? So we okay on midpoint?
Yeah.
Okay, make sure we get that written down. That's on a number line though. Second, on the coordinate plane. Let's say the coordinates of A is x1, comma, y1. The coordinates of B is x2, comma, y2. The coordinates of our midpoint would be what? Well, here's how it works. The x-coordinate of the midpoint is equal to, well, the x's added together divided by what? The y-coordinate of our midpoint is equal to, what do you think? The y-coordinate's what? Added together divided by 2. There is your formula right there. You add the x's of the midpoint, or of the endpoints, I'm sorry, and divide by 2. That's simple. Now everyone needs to get their little red book out. I think we can get more done faster if we Turn to page 5. And let's go number 17 and 18. Yes. You ever got one? We didn't use it. What's your name in it? And you bring to class with every day. Okay. So, here are the two endpoints. They want me to find the coordinates of the midpoint between T and U. So, it's two separate equations really. What are my two x's here? So I add my x's. So that'd be 3 plus what? And then I divide by what? Whatever that ends up simplifying to be, that's the coordinates of my midpoint, is it not? Over here, to find my y coordinate of my midpoint, what do I do? 8 divided by 2, 4 divided by 2. What does this end up simplifying to? 4 comma what? That's the midpoint. Another way you can do this is you can separate this and say, okay, I'm going to find the x coordinate of my midpoint, I'm going to find the y coordinate of my midpoint, and then when you're done, put them in a what? Ordered pair. The reason this might be better is because, I'll show you why here in just a second, because of a problem we're going to do. Look here. How do I find the x coordinate of the midpoint here? Huh? Negative 4 plus what? 5. There the x. All of that divided by 2. So the x coordinate of my midpoint, that's 1 is 1/2, is it not? Okay, so 1/2 I'll put right here. Find the y coordinate of my midpoint, 2 plus negative 2 divided by what? 2. That's what? 0 over 2, which is just 0. The reason why doing it this way is important are for these right here. These confuse people because it's just kind of it says find the coordinate of the missing endpoints. So here they gave me both endpoints, did they not? Right? Here they're giving me an endpoint and the what? So the midpoint on all these circled, the midpoint is what? P. How do I find the midpoint, x coordinate of the midpoint? I add my x's and divide by 2, right? Y coordinate of midpoint, I add my y's and I divide by 2. Everyone agreed? Well, what I have now is, so this is one of these x1s, is it not? This, however, is the midpoint. So where does this 5 belong in this formula? It's the x coordinate of the midpoint, not the endpoint. So this goes what? Right there, and this goes right there. So the formula I'm with is 5 is equal to, one of my endpoints, x coordinate is 2, plus, I don't know the other one, so we'll call it x, divided by 2. Why do you think everybody gets scared to death of that equation? Because it has what in it? It has a fraction. Every time, though, aren't you going to have 2 on the bottom? And if you multiply both sides by 2, you keep it balanced, and what goes away? The fraction, yes. So 10 is equal to 2 plus x. What's x equal to? 8. So the coordinates of Q here is 8 comma, and now I just need to find y. what's the y coordinate of my midpoint here for number 19? 2. So 2 is equal to, so I've got a number for that, and now I need to put in a number for that. What is the y coordinate of one of my endpoints? 0. 0 plus y over what? 2. Multiply both sides by 2, and you're left with 4 is equal to 0 plus y. Well, what is 0 plus y? So what's y equal to? So here are the coordinates of the other endpoint. Make sure you copy that down. Step by step, yes. Yeah. Right here. Remember, I'm going to be using these two formulas, aren't I? And if it'll help you, this is the x-coordinate of your what? Midpoint. So see how I put a little m there? Right? This is the y-coordinate of your what? Midpoint. This you can call your x1. This is your what? y1. So can I just plug it into that equation for the appropriate thing? So for the x-coordinate of my midpoint here, what do I put? So negative 1 is equal to. For my x1, what do I put? Plus. For my x2, I don't know it, so just make it what? All of that divided by? What's our first step in solving this? Multiply both sides by? Negative 2 is equal to what? What am I going to do now? So, n in this case is negative 5 comma. Now I just need to find the what? The y. So now I go to this one. What is the y coordinate of my midpoint? 5 equal to, what is the y coordinate? What is y1? Plus, do I know y2? Divided by? Quiet, please. Multiply both sides by? So 10 is equal to 9 plus y. What would I do now? Y is equal to? We good? Okay, now we got to talk about distance. We've done midpoints. Now we need to do distance. Two distances, and to me the distance is easier. Maybe not easier than the midpoint of just finding the midpoint, but that, everybody hates those ones where one of the endpoints is your unknown. First, we have to talk about the distance on a what? Number line. And on a number line, you just have one x-coordinate, don't you? Is equal to, here's your formula, the absolute value of x1 minus x2. In other words, the absolute value of subtract the coordinates. right? I want this very, very clear. On your assignment, I want them done using this formula. Not counting the spaces. The reason why? I'm fine with you doing that if when they give you the coordinates of negative 432 and positive 221, you guys don't mind drawing that and counting the spaces. If you'll count the spaces for those, I'll let you count the spaces in your homework. But if you'd rather do the one that for every situation ends up being the easiest, which is what I would do, then I'd do it this way. Some of you may not get what I'm talking about, but let's look at that same page. What a point I'm making is, when you have just from negative 6 to what? 10? Is it pretty easy to say the distance from J to L is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? Right? That's fine and dandy. But what if, like I said, they said the coordinates of J is negative 245. The coordinates of L is 18. Do you guys want to draw that number line and count those spaces? No. I'm always a believer in let's learn the way that works all the time, not just the one that works right now. Point I'm making is what I expect to see on your assignment. When they say simply find the distance between L and N. Absolute value sign. What is the coordinates of L? Minus. What are the coordinates of N? What is that? The absolute value of negative 6. Which does the absolute value mean? Why do we have to use absolute value? Is distance ever negative? No, it's always positive. Not too bad, is it? I basically want to see the 3 minus 9. I don't even care if you have that. Basically, this is what I want to see on your paper right here. I just want me to see that you realize that what do you do to the coordinates? You what? M to N, let's do that one. What would you write? Which is equal to? Positive 3. Not asking a whole lot there, am I? But I want to be realistic, and I want you to use something that will work all the time. Everybody okay with distance between 2 points on a number line? You just subtract the coordinates, don't you?
Yes, sir.
And take the absolute value. Second, on a coordinate plane. You guys ought to remember this, don't you? Now, I'm going to give you two formulas. They're the same thing. But I think one, in my humble opinion, is easier to remember. Distance is equal to x2 minus x1, quantity squared, plus y2 minus y1, quantity squared. All of that you take the square root of. That look like a bunch of weird symbols? Looks pretty complicated. Do you know that this is all this really says? Subtract your x's, square it. What do you think I'm going to say here? Which one's easier to remember? Because it doesn't matter what order you put this in. Why? Do you guys know why? What are you doing after you subtract it? What is the sign of any number squared? Positive. Because it's either a positive times a positive or a what? Negative times a negative. So whether you get a negative 5 in here or a positive 5, it doesn't matter. You're going to square it and you're just going to get what? 25. Make sense? If you get a negative underneath this square root, you did something wrong. You probably forgot to square it. So you basically subtract, find the distance, you subtract the x's, square it, subtract the y squared, add them together, then take square root. And you're going to use your calculator for the square root button. Make sense? Let's go do an example. And no, you cannot go right here and count here. On number 5, what are they having you do? They want to find the distance between each pair of points. Well, you can't sit here and count. So what do you need? You need the coordinates of f, and you need the coordinates of what? What are the coordinates of f? 1, 2, 3, -3, and down 2, so that's what? -2. Coordinates of g are what? 1, 1. Now, can I find the distance? So, and this is what I expect to see in your homework. I want to see it in the equation. Distance is equal to square root of, what are my x's? -3 minus what? 1. It doesn't matter what order you put them in, just that you subtract them. Plus, what are my y's? -2 minus 1, quantity squared. What is this? -3 minus 1 is a what? -4 squared is? Positive 16. -2 minus 1 is? -3 squared is? What is 16 plus 9? You know what this is asking you? What number could I square and get 25 is the answer? What's the answer to that question? That one came out nice and even, didn't it? They all won't. Okay.